Ukrainian groove metal band Jinjer are back with another new single, this one called Rogue, and it is a real crusher. Really nice to hear the heavier and more technical side I love about songs like The Prophecy and Home Back. This one really kicks in the door right from the beginning, just like those songs do, and it just does not let up. And I really enjoy that approach from this particular band. Like, they are really good at just going hard and just taking the kills. Killer riffing with an awesome mix of groove and more mathcore sounding stuff akin to Sixth and Periphery, which is another thing that really appeals to me. These guys are really talented musicians, and I feel like some of that was missing on the last album. They kind of went in a more sort of jazzy direction, but more on that later. I also love on this one how at times the riffs even start to seem to spiral around you like a tornado. Everyone just really bringing their A game and working together as a well-oiled machine. Tatiana really bringing the intensity in the harsh vocals. The drums are on point as usual from Vlad. And despite how heavy and hard-hitting it is, it's pretty dynamic too. Like every few seconds there's a slight change up to the rhythm. I haven't analyzed it enough yet, but I feel like there are some time signature changes, but regardless, the groove will switch, the particular beat will change up. It's a song that really keeps you on your toes. I like that they kind of slow things down for a more sort of Meshuggah vibe in the second half. Like, that groove is just undeniable. You cannot avoid moving along to that, and then you get that nice breakdown leading into another, this time snare punctuated groove that sounds straight off of the album Nothing. When they got to that part, I was full stank face at that point. Like, it is just delicious. And I feel like this track overall is a great counterpoint to the more melodic but still heavy Someone's Daughter, which was a single that was released before this. And so it makes me excited to think about the lead up here that it seems to be to another new album and the sound that they seem to be going for. It just really feels like a course correction back to the tighter songwriting of Macro, which is probably my favorite album from them front to back. Like, they have a lot of great singles, but not always albums I love all the way through, but I really enjoyed that one. I did not much care for Wallflowers, and actually I realized as I was writing this out, I haven't gone back to it since the year it came out. I listened to it a ton then in the lead up for my review, because I always want to make sure that I feel like my opinions, even if they're unpopular, which believe me they were, are at least well informed from like really trying to digest the music. And I think the problem with that album is it's just way too meandering for my taste. Like I said, it's kind of jazzy, which I like. I like bands that kind of take jazz elements. I love Imperial Triumphant. I love Psy, which sometimes utilizes that as well. But there it just felt like they were kind of all over the place. There was no sort of focus whatsoever. The riffs were kind of wandering around, and then especially the vocal performance. That is my least favorite Tatiana album, which is a little bit of a shame because I know it's a really personal album for her, but I just feel like even though, you know, she has a great voice, I felt like her performance was kind of weak. I just thought it kind of went all over the place. There was no, again, focus to the songwriting, but then also like feeling like we weren't even hitting all the notes, and the notes that were chosen just felt like odd choices. So yeah, that was a disappointing album for me. If you love that one, feel free to share down in the comments what you enjoyed about that so much. I'm especially curious about that now because everybody, like the fan base, was super up in arms because this is another one of those fan bases where if you say anything about the Queen Tatiana especially, you will get a lot of people in your comment section super butt mad. But now that there's been a couple years separation since that album came out, I'm curious, like with fresh eyes and fresh ears, like have you gone back to that album? Do you still listen to it a lot? Or maybe you don't and you've changed your mind. And as always, if you love it, great. And the fact that I didn't really care for it has no bearing on you. It's what makes these discussions so fun. It's why I do the channel to begin with. Like I like to sometimes I share really popular opinions and sometimes I have completely opposite opinions of most people. Regardless, these songs are much more my taste, for better or worse for the rest of you all, but like, yeah, it feels like this is shaping up to be an album that sounds a bit more on point with Macro, and I mean, I would love to hear also like more of a Home Back. I think Someone's Daughter has similar vibes to Home Back, but when I say that, I don't want like another actual Home Back. I'm just saying that song is like, if we're looking for the bar, like what's an A+ song for Jinjer? That's Home Back for me, because it's just so dynamic. It's got a little bit of everything. It was so surprising the first time I heard it because I was not expecting the directions it was going to go, and it was just paced so perfectly. Like, everything about that song is basically perfection. But going back to this song, Rogue, in terms of my scoring for this one on my 3 scales, I'll start with enjoyability. I would definitely give it an A. I was having an absolute blast with this thing from beginning to end. It really helps that it is a very focused, like just over 3-minute runtime, which for this type of track is kind of perfect. Honestly, there are plenty of bands doing songs like this where I'd be like, 2.5 minutes is better, but I don't think they wasted any time here. Like, I was enjoying it. I was banging my head. Like I said, I got the stank face. All of those little key symbols that you want came up for me while I was listening to this track. And I've already listened to it, I think, like 6 or 7 times at this point. In terms of musicianship, I would also give it an A. And I think that should not be a surprise considering what I had to say throughout this review. I think everybody is just doing such a great job. The drumming and guitar work, I love that technical mathy aspect to it. I love the different influences that they're bringing in. It doesn't feel like they're specifically copying any one band, but you can hear the elements from all of them coming through. I think Tatiana has full control of her harsh vocals here, just like really bringing the intensity and the harshness and the bitterness, the emotions coming through. I guess in a way too, it's kind of useful that this came out around the same time that those Entheos singles came out for that new EP, because there's some kind of shared DNA in some way between these songs. If you haven't listened to those, by the way, and you're not familiar with Entheos, like, please do listen to that band. They are amazing. They have very impressive musicianship, and then another like really strong, one of my favorite current day like female metal vocalists in Cheney Crab. And then in terms of innovation, it's still kind of like a C, because that scale is really kind of what separates like the best stuff for me, so that not everything is just an A all the time, because that would be really boring. But yeah, I mean, if you're really thinking about it, does this song do anything really new? Not really. Definitely not in the scope of things, and not really for Jinjer either. They've done plenty of songs similar to this one, but I do think they kind of up the intensity, so I think it's just average on that particular point. And there's nothing wrong with that. I like plenty of bands that kind of put out the same type of stuff over and over again, like the Black Dahlia Murder. So yeah, if I really average that all out, I think it gets a really, really solid B+, with kind of like tipping over. I want to give it like an A-, but I think B+ is probably more fair, again, within the scope of metal music in general. If you want to hear more of my thoughts about Jinjer, I have this tier list, which is a little old, and I'm hoping when a new album comes out, I can update that. Or you can take your own specific YouTube recommendation from my channel. And again, let me know down below, how do you agree? Where do you disagree? What do you think about this just in general? But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.